So without further ado, I am really, really excited about this fireside chat tonight. It's so cool to be interviewing someone that has been in our community, all of you know and love, and is really talented and just a really great person. And I don't know about all of you, but I am really, really pumped to hear his story. So now I'm going to bring up to stage Danny Vivian. So thank you for being here. And I'm glad that you had the courage to get up here because I know this is not easy for you. And so he put his faith in me, guys. So I'll help me support him in this because he's like, I saw your interview. You did good. You could do this. And I'm like, oh, man, now I got the pressure. So thank you. But no, I told him it would be great because talking to you is always easy. You're so friendly and you're a really great listener, too. But you also have a lot of really interesting things to say. And when I look at your work, I just think, wow, you have a way of capturing things that is really unique. And your pictures tell a story. And, you know, think about how hard that is to do, right? Like, you look at a picture, and to capture that moment, you all know what I'm talking about, right? Because we all know those photos that someone takes of you, and they're like, here's your photo, and you look at it, you're like, really? Were you even looking at it? You know, sometimes my kids hold the phone, and they're like, there, Mom, there you go. But you have those people that really captivate you, and it's more than a photo. It's a piece of art that speaks to you, and you are that person that can do that. And it's so cool you're right here in our community, and you're able to take those moments and turn them into these works of art that captivate people. So before we talk about your work, I want to kind of know about you. Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm a big city kid. Grew up in El Campo, Texas.
Yeehaw!
Kind of on the outskirts of El Campo, actually. Lived there until I was in junior high school, and then moved to Victoria, and lived in Victoria the whole rest of the time. We had a short stint in Houston. It seemed like 5 years, but it was about 8 months, I think. And ended up back in Victoria.
So you came back. So I always love to hear when people do a circle, but they always come back to us because we're amazing here, right, guys? Y'all all agree with that? But I think, you know, with living in El Campo, and then so was this like the big city for you when you came to Victoria?
Oh, yeah. We were, of course, we're about halfway between Houston and Victoria, so it was always bouncing back and forth. But yeah, Victoria seemed like a big city to me. I mean, they had a zoo. Oh, yeah. I mean, seriously. But, yeah. El Campo was a great place to grow up, though. I lived, like I said, on the outskirts of town. There was nothing but fields behind us. It was the greatest playground a kid could have. But I don't know. Victoria was a whole new thing, and especially at that age, I was. You know,
there's a lot to explore, right? And like you said, the zoo, your mind is like...
And a mall.
And a mall,
yeah. Mall. Yeah, of course it was Town Plaza Mall. It wasn't, you know, but...
But it was something, right?
It was something.
Hey.
Yep.
And so, did you go to school? Did you go to college?
I actually went to Victoria College in UHV.
Woo! We love that here. We're like, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't UHV when I went there. It was the University of Houston. My degree is actually from University of Houston. But
so what'd you get a degree in?
Business.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what was your first job you ever had?
I would love to say that I went to school because I had a goal in mind, and I really just wanted a degree and then just wanted to see where it took me. Got a business degree. I was kind of an aimless young man at that time, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Went to a employment agency, and they sent me on a job interview. I went to work for a company called Crawford and Company that is insurance adjusters, independent insurance adjusters. I had no clue what an insurance adjuster even did. I got this job. And that was my first job. It was pretty cool. I was Fresh out of college, the first thing they did was send me to Atlanta with 50 other fresh out of college kids from all over the country, and we went to school all day and partied all night, and it was about a month and a half of training, and then came back to Victoria. And I've had, most of my jobs have been pretty long-term, but I've had several jobs since then. Worked for a law firm for a while, and then the company that I actually have a day job. I don't just do photography. A lot of people don't realize that because I don't talk about my day job that much. It's not it's not who I am. I'm not, but I work for Texas Mutual Insurance Company, and I've been there. Just celebrated my 28th year there. So.
That insurance adjusting got him, right? It just put him on the path. And you're like Superman, right? You have your day job, and then you go in your cape and do the photos, right? I think
I've never
that's cool.
photographed in a cape. I've never.
I think you're a superhero. For the work you do, that is not easy. Like, it's amazing.
I didn't take that.
No, but he had the photos up there. But the work you do is amazing, and it's really cool to see. So from all the jobs you had and everything that you did, where did you start with photography? Like, how did you get here?
You know, the funny thing is, my dad he worked for an electric company, blue collar guy, but he was an artist, and he was our photographer. You know, when we were growing up, and the cameras obviously were very simple, and you know, you took pictures, sent your film off, and got it developed and all that stuff. But my dad was actually the one that got me interested in photography, and he was an amazing man. He was, you know, a hardworking man. He loved pretty much anything art. He loved music. He loved drawing. I have three. My most prized possessions in the world, besides my family, is, and my friends. Hello, friends. My moonshine bunch is here. I have three pictures that he drew that were scenes from New Orleans from a trip that we went on as a family, and I have them framed. And I can remember as a kid, while he sat at a table and drew the pictures, hanging on his shoulder, looking over and watching him draw these pictures. And I mean, if my house caught on fire, once my family's out safely, I would be going in for those three pictures. Because anyway, and that's where I got I think my artistic love of art and appreciation of art. Like I said, I was trying to remember because I knew you were going to probably ask that question when I first started taking pictures, when I first got my first camera. And keep in mind, cameras were really simple, and there wasn't a lot you could do with them, and it was expensive to send film off and all that stuff. But I can remember one Christmas, that was all I wanted was a camera, and I got my first little camera, and I just went out and took pictures of things. My mom actually was raised in Branson, Missouri, so we used to go to Branson to visit my grandmother every year, and it was so beautiful up there. I mean, there was mountains and lakes and all that stuff, and I mean, I would go through film as much as my little allowance would pay for. Stuff like that, just trying to capture those things. And it's just something that kind of stuck with me. When I when I turned 16, I actually went to work. I was so excited about getting a job because I wanted a car so bad. I went to work the day after I turned 16 and went to work for a department store that had a camera department in it. I started out sacking groceries and worked my way to the camera department so I could work there, and ended up working there all the way through high school. And that's where I really started playing around with cameras and getting better cameras and equipment. And a buddy that I worked with there, he and I, on our days off, would just jump in the car and take off, and we would drive a lot of times we didn't even have a destination. We would just drive, and we'd see a dirt road, we'd turn on that dirt road. See a smaller one, we'd turn on that one, and just find things to take pictures of. And still to this day, in our attic, there's a big, like one of those big Rubbermaid tub things that's full of nothing but old pictures. They're probably all stuck together and whatever, but I just got to be just relentless about taking pictures. I just loved it so much. Long answer to a short question.
No, that was fabulous because, there's so many takeaways from that, and especially having children myself, I think about when you get your child something like a camera, how that can change their life just by getting them that camera, and it instilled this life passion that you've turned into what you do now, and you loved it so much that you went and you worked your way up to get a job in that department, and then you would go on these adventures. And it still continues to lead you on adventures till this day. So it shows a beautiful roadmap of the trajectory that you can create for a child just by providing them something that sparks their interest and can catapult them to an adventure in their life that they can do forever. So that was really great what you said, because I think that's so important to remember with kids or even adults, right? Like, you never know when you talk with somebody and you spark something in them, or you could give them an old camera or whatever it may be, that could change the trajectory of their life. So what you said was so important, because I think we sometimes forget that the little things matter like that. When we think it might just be something small as parents, when we give our kids that Christmas gift or that birthday gift, or as friends when we do something kind for one another. But it can change the trajectory of somebody's life. So thank you for that, because that really sparked something in me, as well as I'm sure all of you in the room too. So with having your day job and then doing all the things you do in photography, how do you balance all of that?
It's not always easy, I will say that. It's really funny. I didn't set out to be a professional photographer. It was something I loved doing, and it was actually one of those kind of necessity things. Connie and I, our son, was getting ready to go off to A&M, which you can save all the money you want to. A&M is very expensive, and so we were trying to figure out kind of a side income or something to kind of help him pay for his education. And one day, Connie just said to me, my wife Connie is sitting out here, said to me, "Why don't you take pictures?" And I was like,
She's a smart woman.
I'm already taking pictures. Well, no, like, do it for people. And I had never even thought of it. I honestly didn't think I was that great, so I didn't, I didn't really think anybody was going to pay for pictures, but I thought, sure, we'll give it a go. And I had a friend of mine at the time who did model shoots in Houston, and he invited me to go on one of these shoots, and it was just around that same time. And so I went and just watched him work and saw the pictures and how the art of it, of taking pictures of models, and I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. We scraped enough money together to buy my first camera, which is a pretty nice camera, and I went on another one of these model shoots. And it was, they had this little group where they would do these shoots, and they were free. A group of photographers would show up, a group of models that are wanting pictures for their portfolios would show up, and you'd work together to take pictures. The photographers would give the models the pictures, and then both could use them for their portfolios. So it was a good chance to practice. There wasn't any pressure, wasn't getting paid, any of that. And it clicked with me. I never thought of myself as a people photographer. I was always sunsets or whatever. And it just clicked. And we came home and started talking to our friends and neighbors, and people about doing pictures of like their kids for senior pictures, that sort of thing. And just started doing it, and just through word of mouth, we started getting busier and busier and busier. And it was amazing how it snowballed. It was, I wish this was something that I would have thought of a lot earlier, that I thought I could do a lot earlier. But anyway, it was crazy how it snowballed. And within 2 years, we were doing senior pictures, we were doing our first weddings, we were doing all this work. And it literally snowballed into a second full-time job. And it was very busy, worked a lot of hours. I worked 40 plus hours a week in my day job. It got to, at times, it was 40 plus hours a week with the photography business. But I will say this, and is probably one of our greatest accomplishments, was through us putting money back and us having this side job, we ended up getting our son graduated from A&M completely debt-free.
That's amazing. Well, and when you said that you wish you would have thought about doing it a lot earlier, and I think it's so important, your wife is amazing. It's someone having that belief in you, or saying, yeah, no, you're good enough. And that's so important for everyone in the room. When you have this idea, if somebody tells you it's not good enough, or you tell yourself, you're not asking the right person, right? Tell yourself it's good enough, and no, just try it and go after it. Because there's 100 plus people that might tell you it's a bad idea. What about that one good idea? Look at Elf on the Shelf. I always use that because we know about that thing, right? That is an idea that makes all this money, is really successful. Who would have thought in a million years, hey, I have this idea about this elf that's going to watch your children that sits on your shelf. What? Right? But they knew it and they believed in it, even though they were turned down, and look now. And so whatever idea you have, go after it. And you guys went after it, and look what you've been able to do. And it all started from that conversation of your amazing wife, who was like, hey, why don't you do this? You got this talent over here, She saw in you what you couldn't see at the time in yourself, and that's a lot of us. It's hard for us to see our superpowers and our talents, right? Especially when we're creatives and artists, we're so close to it. My mom used to throw away her artwork that she did before a show in the trash can, and I'd go dig it out, and I'd throw it in the truck. And they'd be the first ones to sell. But she thought they were horrible and couldn't even go. But it's that when we're really close to our work and our art that we create, a lot of times we can get in our head about that stuff. But it's so amazing to see and hear about the journey that you've been on and what you've been able to accomplish. It's really, really cool. And you recently had a show. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. That was my other public speaking event, which I am not a public speaker, y'all.
He's doing great, right? You're literally carrying it and doing great. That's why I'm like, I think that's something you're telling yourself, because you are good.
I think if I had not tripped on the stage getting up here, I would have just been all over the place. I needed that. So, yeah. From my fall, thank you.
For your survival.
The Russian judge only gave me a 3 on that dismount, but yeah, the nave, that was really a cool deal. I got asked to do an exhibit at the Nave Museum of pictures. It was just one of those things. It was a surprise when they called, and I kind of went in panic mode, because I cannot tell you how many million pictures I've taken, but I never had really thought that they were good enough to be in an exhibit. I thought it would be cool if it happened, but it was a kind of a stressful thing trying to put that together. And Jeb and Allison were two of I had this little group that I sent all these pictures to and said, okay, me out of the picture, because I'm close to all of these pictures. I know where they were taken. I know what was going on at the time, all of that. And I just had other people help me pick out the pictures for this exhibit. And it was awesome. I'm like my worst critic, and you know, people can tell me how great something is, and I don't see it. It's just something I struggle with, and that was a real encouraging, exciting thing to have gone through, because so many people came and saw the work and told me, you know, that they loved the work and all that, and then told me why. And it was amazing how people see different things, and it's an art thing. People see different things in your art. I mean, y'all saw the slideshow. I take pictures and I see something, and I would talk to people about pictures that I had in this exhibit, and the things that they saw and the stories that they saw through the pictures were not at all what I had envisioned, or what was going on. But it was really cool, and it was really, it was exciting, and it was a big boost for me artistically, because it really encouraged me to push harder and to, you know, go further with my photography and with my art. But I did have to speak in front of a bunch of people, which sucked, and I didn't have a stage to trip on to get started. So,
well, you survived it, right? So,
I did.
And is it interesting, like you were talking about, when you've taken a photo and you know what you were thinking at the time and kind of what was going on, then someone comes to you and they have a totally different interpretation, but it's really cool, right?
It's really cool.
It's neat how art sparks that in people, and to think that they're creating this whole scenario in their mind and this thought process behind it, and that your work sparks things in people. I mean, how powerful is that you're creating things,
cool.
right? Like,
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, give yourself credit. It is cool. And it's neat to think that all of these years, from the little boy who got the camera, who was inspired by his dad, to now, you're showing art that is making people think about things and sparking emotions and feelings, and leading them maybe somewhere to create, or inspiring them in some way. So that's such a cool journey, right? And a story to tell.
Well, it is cool, because I do get to mentor new photographers now, and it's funny, I'll get calls, you know, 9 o'clock at night, and it's somebody asking questions, or how did you do this, or I'm looking at a new camera, tell me what to do, or, and it's cool to kind of pass that on to other people. I really enjoy that part of it.
So we should all call you at past 9 p.m.
No.
But no, and that is amazing. I want to tell you that, like, he mentors other people doing what he does, right? Because he has an abundance mindset. That is where it's at right there. Giving his time and giving guidance to others. And that's really special. So thank you for being that person that is doing that. And so what are some of your favorite shoots to do?
I cannot tell you how passionate I am about live music photography.
You guys know I love that.
That's my thing, and we will shoot one of these days.
I'm ready.
I love to tell stories with my photographs, but I also love to show emotion. And the thing I love about live music is there's so much emotion in it. And I was like the house shooter for Schrader Hall, and I've shot for Boot Fest when it was going, and Turkey Fest, and Reckless Kelly softball jams, and all these different things. And it's one of the few things that I can do that while I'm doing it, nothing else in the world exists. I mean, it just absorbs me. And like this week, shooting the Bachfest. This is my third year to shoot Bachfest performances, which is not my genre. I don't listen to classical music, but for a week, I am a classical music fan, and I love the emotion, and I try so hard to show that, and people that aren't there see that emotion. You know, one of the pictures that was in my Nave exhibit was of the conductor that conducts the big orchestra every year, and it was just this very intense, emotional picture of him conducting this orchestra. And he was back this year, and I was climbing around backstage trying not to make too much noise so I could get more shots of him while he was conducting the orchestra. But it's just, and I don't know, did any of y'all go see Ruthie Foster when she was raised hand? Holy crap, she was incredible. And one of the pictures in the slideshow was of her. Just the emotion that she showed, and I mean, I've seen your videos. There's just an emotion that performers. Another one of the pictures that's up there is of John. There's just something about, artists are just cool. Most artists would do what they were doing if they didn't get a penny for it. I guarantee you, John Paul Ortiz would be on a street corner singing if he didn't get a penny for it.
It's his passion. He loves it. Yes.
He's good at it. He's great at it. And I would do the same thing with photography. I mean, don't tell my clients that, but I would
delete the scene. People.
I would do it. I would do it for free. If I wasn't getting paid, I'd still be doing it. And
it's
you'd be singing.
Same. And you know, it's one of those things. I love all your photographs, everything you've done, and each one so different. Right? It evokes a different emotion, but you know, obviously I am partial to the one of musicians because I know how it feels to be on that stage, and you capture that raw emotion where you see them wearing their heart on their sleeve and you see them doing what they love, and it just is so beautiful how you're able to capture that, and that is such a superpower. I'm telling you, you said you don't have a cape. I'm disagreeing with that wholeheartedly because not everybody that is a photographer can capture things in the way that you do. It's an art, and it's, right, like the camera's your paintbrush, and you're able to create this moment in time that stops. And when I look at these photos, even if I wasn't there, it transforms me. That's what I love about art and music photography. It can take you somewhere without going anywhere at all, right? We talk about we wish we had time machines. I kind of feel that's how it is. And when I look at your work, I'm like, I feel what that musician is feeling, like the grit and the matter, like the, and that's really, really something unique that not everyone can capture. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge that for you and tell you thank you for sharing your superpowers with the world, and especially being part of our community, because it's really, really a rare talent that not many get to have, and especially not many share and also mentor others with. So thank you. I appreciate that. And talking about mentors, have you had anybody that has mentored you along the way?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When all this started, I was pretty aimless. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know what to charge people. I didn't know if my work was good enough. I didn't know if I needed to be doing something different. And there was one particular person, and I don't know if you all know retired Dr. Buddy Lee. He and his wife, Jara, are amazing photographers and amazing people. They're good people. And Buddy kind of took me under his wing. And he was the one that I was calling at 9 o'clock at night, asking him questions. And he was so encouraging. And so, yeah, he was, it was really interesting at that Nave Museum. They came, and there was 150 people or something. It was crazy how many people came to that. But when it all kind of started settling down, Buddy came over to me and he put his arm around me and he said, "Walk with me." I was like, okay, not sure where this is going. And he walked me into my exhibit and started with the very first picture and went through every single picture in my entire exhibit and told me what he loved about it, what I did right, what he got out of it, the story that it told. And it was one of the most meaningful things that anybody's ever done, was that little tour through my own exhibit. So yes, I had a mentor, and we all need them.
Well, and that's so special that you have somebody in our community that, does photography also like you do. You pay it forward. You mentor like he mentored you, and to take the time to come and say like, hey, this is amazing, and walk you through. That's what a good mentor wants, you always want to be that person, to see the person you mentor. I want everyone I've ever mentored to be more successful than I could ever be, because isn't that the point of it? Like I'm like, that's proof that I'm a good mentor, guys. But it's really cool that you had that full circle moment from the beginning of when you were making those phone calls to now you're showing in the nave and your mentor is there with you. I mean, that had to be just such a pivotal moment in your life and really, really amazing. And so with all the work that you're doing and everything that you've done, what is the one piece of advice you might give to somebody trying to aspire to maybe do something but they're not sure about it?
If I could tell anybody anything, it would be telling young people especially, find what does it for you, find what feeds your soul, find what is the thing that, this is going to sound really rank, so just excuse me, makes your butt pucker when you think about it.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, yeah.
And everybody's got that. Some of them is music. Some of it is painting. Some of it is speaking. Some of it, I mean, everybody's got that thing that's just built into them that they would do for free, that they wake up in the morning wanting to do that thing. That's all they think about. And for me, it's photography. I mean, I love my insurance job. They have been so good to me and all of that, but that's not who I am. The art and the photography part of it is really what feeds my soul. And I would tell anybody, find that thing that is your passion and pursue it, and don't be afraid. And if you can do it while you're young and you don't have a lot of responsibilities and mortgages and all those things, do it, jump on it, don't pass up that chance. You know, if I would have been thinking that way when I was young, my life would probably be a lot different. But I'm happy, I'm not complaining. But the other side of that is if you're already in a 9-to-5 and all of that, still seek what does it for you, what moves you, what feeds your soul, and pursue it. And if you can reach the point, and it's a lot of people can do it, and I'm halfway doing it. If you can reach the point where you can make a living doing what you love, God, it doesn't get any better than that.
It doesn't, and you know, I think this is so powerful in so many ways, because there's a lot of people here who they can't just quit their job and go chase their passion. You know, they have bills, mortgage, all the things, kids to support, whatever it may be. And so you are such a great example of, hey, do that thing. That's okay. You pay your bills, you do what you got to do, but that doesn't mean you still can't do what feeds your soul and your passion. And it shows in your work that this is, you hear the word passion, right, all the time from him, and that shows in your work. And I think it's something in the formula of what's made you successful and that makes you special and unique, because not everybody has that passion and that fire in their soul, and it shines through their work like yours. And I love how people are seeing in you, you can do it all, right? Like, it might not always be easy, but you can have that job and still go fiercely and relentlessly after what you love, and then you can have an avenue to eventually quit that job if that's what you choose. And some people do both, right? Some people do both and continue to do both, and that's okay, whatever floats your boat. But I know that's really powerful, because working with so many in our community, and even people outside of our community, a lot of them, it's not a choice that they have, so they think that it's over for them, or maybe it just wasn't for them, and that's absolutely not true at all. You are a living, breathing example of that. So I know that's so helpful, because I deal with people asking that question all the time. And now that we're talking about juggling these things and everything, and kind of working the job and doing your second gig, not everything is a success. So what is something that you deemed a failure, and kind of what did you do with it?
I think part of the failure was not starting this earlier. But, I mean, I've had some failures with with the photography gig. You know, the one that really sticks out was we did a wedding, and it was kind of a budget wedding, which is not an excuse, but I bought a new camera, and I say I bought a new camera. I bought a gently used camera.
New to you.
And we were still kind of early on, but I wanted a second camera to use at this wedding, and I bought it on a Friday, did the wedding on a Saturday, and the camera had a defective sensor on it. And so all the pictures were blurry. And I did a wedding that was, I mean, I worked some Photoshop magic and made it kind of work, but the pictures were really bad. And I've only had that happen one time in 17 years, or how long has it been, sweetheart? 18 years, something like that, of having my photography business. But I just remember I didn't sleep for like a week. It was just, I mean, I blame myself. And fortunately, these people were really nice, and they didn't seem to see the problem. Thank God they were older, and maybe their vision wasn't that great or whatever. But it was one of those things where I practically wanted to quit. I said, I just couldn't stand the fact that I felt like I had ruined somebody's wedding. But you just kind of have to, you learn from those mistakes. Every mistake that I've made, whether it's been, I mean, I'm really careful not to miss appointments or those sorts of things, but those kind of things happen, miscommunications happen, and you just learn from them, make sure they don't happen again. I mean, that's all you can do.
That is all you can do. You're right. And no, that was great advice. And you know, I think it's one of those things you were learning, and that's okay. You learned from it. Didn't happen again. I mean, I have friends that are photographers at the top of their game, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, my battery pack is dead, or the lens is messed up. And so, I mean, you know, and these are people that have been doing it forever too. And so it's always interesting when we're doing things and we think, oh man, this is because I'm starting out. I can't believe I made this mistake. And then you realize you're not alone in this. We all make mistakes. We have failures, right? But I don't look as a failure at something bad at all. It's a learning experience. So that's how I look at failures. Failure, definition, learning experience, right?
And the
so
real
you learn,
mistake is if you don't learn.
The real mistake is if, exactly, yes.
And I've learned from it. If you ever saw the camera bag that I take to shoots, I've got like 8 batteries. I've got 3 camera bodies. And if something breaks, and it does, I mean, I shoot a lot outside, and we've been on the street when a tripod got knocked over and $500 worth of stuff smashed on the street. I just reached in my bag, pulled out another $500 worth of stuff, and put it up. You learn to be prepared, and you learn from your mistakes. And if you don't repeat your mistakes, then it was worth it.
Very true. And so with everything you've done in your business and where you're going, what do you see the future for you in your career, and what do you hope kind of will happen next for your next step?
It's been interesting how this whole photography thing has evolved. You know, I started out taking pictures for friends and all of that stuff, and then it went through senior pictures and families, and I still do that stuff, but it's evolved to where I'm doing a lot more commercial stuff. In fact, I just started doing some stuff for Building Brands Marketing, wherever Robert Royer is. There he is. But I mean, the list of my commercial clients is long. I mean, it's Caterpillar, and it's Dow, and it's the hospitals and both colleges, and I mean, and it's not anything that I went after, but it was just trying to be consistent with my work. And your work speaks for itself. I mean, it's amazing. Well, so I've been very fortunate. Victoria is a great city for word of mouth. I don't advertise. I've never advertised. I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, but I don't take ads out in I've never paid for advertising, but I've found that if you're consistent and you do good work and you make, for me, you make photo shoots a great experience for the clients, then they tell their friends, and so my calendar stays busy. And plus I picked up all these commercial things, and it seems like everything I do leads to something else. And it's a cool, it's almost like a snowball uphill, the way it works. But what I see, I'm hoping that I will be retired from my day job in about 3 years. We've got a 3-year goal. And then I want to just do photography. And so that's the goal.
Well, now you're setting goals, because a couple times you just talked about aimlessly. I didn't know. Now you're like, hey, now I have this strategy and a plan and a goal. You're like 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's been neat to see how you said that it was kind of that snowball uphill of how word of mouth and your work, and it's a quality. And it is because you bring that extra equipment and you put the thought and you're learning and you're growing and you're doing all those things and you're passionate, and it shows through your work. And there's something really to be said for that, right? Like, all of us can do a job and do different things. But if you have passion and you put that behind what you do, it's going to put you at a level above the other people who are just doing it, because it shows through in your work no matter what you do, what industry you're in. If you do something with pride and passion, you are already going to have a leg up above anyone else doing it, and it'll shine through to people. Whether you think it does or not, it really does make a difference. And since you've been in Victoria for so long, even though you're from El Campo, you're a native now, it's okay.
I've actually been a native for a long time.
I know. But yeah, so native Victorian, I would like to know, with the growth in our city and all the things happening, kind of what would you like to see in the next few years kind of happen in our city, and where do you see us going?
It's really kind of cool. And I think COVID was a terrible thing, and it was a mess, but I think some good things came out of it. And one thing that I've noticed, I grew up in El Campo, small town. Everything in it was mom and pop. You went to Mr. Albright's shoe store to get your shoes. You went to Bill Johnson's hardware to get and everything was mom and pop. And the one thing about the bigger cities like Victoria and Houston was there was all these chain things. And then Walmart came in, and it started kind of killing the mom and pops, especially in the smaller towns. And I think we just really got into that kind of corporate, getting away from customer service and all those things. And one thing about COVID, and I think it was just, I don't know, people kind of drew back into their communities and to their families and all those things. And I've noticed that it seems to be we're kind of going back to mom and pops in a lot of ways, which is so cool. I mean, we have a lot of innovators and small business people in this room that have started new businesses. And of course, I'm kind of involved with the downtown stuff with Main Street and those sorts of things. But I see all these new businesses, and I'm watching our downtown area just blossom. And I would love to see that continue. And I'm hoping that this kind of what's the word? This kind of turn toward locally owned, mom and pop, new creative businesses will continue. I think it's so much more fun to shop in those kind of stores than it is to go to Walmart,
Well, like shopping small is so important because we know these people, and so we know when we shop with them, they're able to pay their light bill. They're able to put more back into our community. These are people that we know and faces that we know, and that care about us. And so it's so important because the more we invest in each other, the more that our community does better, the more that we all do better. I want to live in a community where everyone is doing well and successful and, you know, able to grow their businesses and do what feeds their soul and sparks the fire in them and makes their butt pucker, whatever floats their boat. So
Sorry I used that.
no, I got to quote that all the time. No, I love it. But it's one of those things to where I agree with you.
My butt puckered when I tripped on that freaking stage earlier, by the way. Different kind of butt pucker, but.
It's one of those things that you're exactly spot on. COVID, it happened. We can't take it back. But I do think that the silver lining, if we can find anything in it, was people got back to the core of being close to one another, caring more about one another, realizing that life is precious, time is precious. You can't get that back. And so I've seen a lot more people actually realize maybe they weren't happy in their job, so they actually want to do something they like every day. And so I think that's what started to happen and why we had a mass exodus and why people are really focusing on the core of what makes them tick, what makes them happy, and to try to find what you found, which is your passion. And that's why I think you sitting up here today is so powerful for so many reasons, but especially the reason of you work your job, but you also do your passion. And so I hope all of you take that with you, is that we do have choices. We aren't stuck where we are, right? We have a whole community of people who are willing to mentor you, stand behind you. We have avenues for different things you want to do. And I love what you said about seeing things grow, and you know, and it's downtown, it's also the rest of our city. I see things popping up, and it's really cool. And how amazing is it that our city gets with people for these events. We have a Main Street program. Not everybody has that. That's really cool. You know, and so our city has a lot of things that they offer. We have a lot of people that are innovative, doing really neat things, and we have artists and creatives that are phenomenal right here. And so when you're talking about the future of your career and doing that, do you think you'll have like your own studio? Like, where do you see that going?
I'm not a big studio guy. I do some studio work, but 95% of my shoots are out on location, and I love that part of it. I love having, in some cases, recognizable Victoria buildings and landmarks in the backgrounds of pictures. But we have I shoot a lot downtown just because of the architecture and the buildings and all of that. But it's a cool place to shoot. And of course, I'm always scouting new places to shoot and hitting up property owners to let me go on their property or whatever. But I will continue that. And music.
Well,
I expect you to be a star, and I'm
let's do it.
Following your coattails.
That's been in you from the beginning. You know, I really, really thought it was so awesome how you said, well, we go down a road, then we see another little road and go down it. You are still that person that you were when you were younger, and that's so cool to see that spark is still in you, that you're like, hey, I go ask property owners, I go do my thing. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us.
Here at Thrive Fuel, we build videos that showcase the best of your brand. One of the best marketing tools to showcase your above and beyond the competition is video production. Consumers prefer quick, easy to digest information, and that's exactly what we can create for you. At Thrive Fuel, we have the skill and experience to bring your video to life. Let us help you tell your story. When you thrive, we thrive.